foundations as I look at the missional role of our call. Pastor Brown is called to me and asks that I look at the biblical role of the call of the pastor in the conversation. But Odika Walker has written an article on the biblical role of a pastor that is the best I've ever read anywhere. And so if you get a chance, be shared with you. It'll be good. But I'm looking, one of my background is in missions. And,
Odika, I am always for scholarship. And I'm always supporting our pastors with the gift to contribute to the future. And Odika has this book, God and Human Life. It's Odika, 1 minute. Pastor, you don't mind? Come and tell us about, because it is, we are proud of you. We're proud of you, proud of what you're doing at NCU. And tell us about the book. You're the author.
Thank you very much. So we have a set of doctrines, and the outline of the doctrines of the book is in a very scholarly way. When you spin the pages, you will see some of the top scholars who have written on various areas. So I cover the 5 doctrines in the book: study of God, study of man, study of salvation, study of the church, study of last things. The 6th doctrine is spread throughout the book. So the unique thing about the document is that all that I am saying about God, man, the church, salvation, last things, and so forth, I am showing how it connects to our situation, and that makes it unique. So I'm asking questions like, when we see Port Royal being destroyed by an earthquake and then by a hurricane where San alone was left, is this God's intervention as we talk about these things? And I ask very pointed questions. Each chapter begins with focused questions, and it's very easy to follow. It is in a bullet form, so it doesn't pressure you too much as you go through. There are 22 lessons, and of course, if you preach and if you teach the Bible, then you would want this book to be in your hand. It's Seventh-day Adventist doctrine defended by a scholarly approach. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I want you to know that you're investing in Dr. Walker. Very soon he will be moving to Andrews to finish his doctoral studies. We have Dwayne Campbell out of IS, and he'll be coming back shortly. Ken Roy, rather. We have invested in him. We have our own Dr. Chambers that we have invested in. And we want to invest in someone in New Testament. We want you to know that, because we believe in investing in our men and women so that they can serve us with distinction. Dr. Rhone.
And maybe it's providential that you have global coverage, because Jeffrey Brown is here, Dr. Jeffrey Brown, who is from the Ministerial Association. So make sure you put a book in his hand. You might see it in Ministry Magazine very, very soon. He has. Okay, beautiful. But in terms of the biblical role of pastor, get your hand on what Pastor Walker had wrote. I'm going to look at the missional role of our call. We begin first by looking at Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2, looking unto Jesus. That's our focus. Who is the author? And you know it, right? Finisher of our faith. Who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. When I attended Mercer University, there was one of my professors who I have a lot of respect for and love, Dr. Oliver Boggs. And she made a statement to me that I've never forgotten. She said that, Denton, in life, there is something that each person is born to do. And they are the only one who can do it. And if they don't do it, it will never get done. You can take that. I've taken that personally for my own self. You can take it for your own work. And we can also take it for a church, our union. and our conferences. There is something that Jamaica Union conferences were born to do in this country. And if we don't do it, it will never get done. The issues that we are facing in Jamaica today, Jamaica, as I read what's happening in the paper and all the social ills and we cry about it, Jamaica need the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The country is aware that the largest single social institution in this country is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They do a tremendous influence, as someone said earlier, is resident in the hands of all of us who are here. There's no one that is organized, there's no other institution, single institution in Jamaica where Statin has over 500,000 individuals claiming affiliation with that institution. And so by virtue of how we are organized, by virtue of our education, by virtue of our influence, by virtue of our training, by virtue of our money, we have tremendous influence. And preaching, there's a strong correlation between preaching and civility. So as pastors, as you move between the pulpit and the community, there is a lot for you to do. Do not underestimate the influence that God has entrusted to you. How we see ourselves is everything. I remember a few years ago, Dr. Leon Wellington said that to me, Denton, how we see ourselves is everything. And as pastors, as leaders of the church, we must remember who we are, that who we are and what we do and who we are a part of is not ours. We came here and saw it. We have the privilege of occupying and serving now. And if God holds out longer, all of us will move on and leave it behind. The church was built by Christ alone. The church of which you are a part of. Jesus said to the apostles and to Peter and to the rest of them, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail. We only have invited participation. But this is Christ's church. He built it. He has superintended it over the past 2,000 years. And he said that there'll be battle between the church and the very gates of hell, but the church will prevail. But we only have invited participation for the season that we are here. So the pastoral assignments are laid out in the scriptures. In Ephesians chapter 4, 11 to 12, it says, He, Christ, gave some apostles, and he gave to some to be prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of ministry, and for the edifying of the body of Christ. I'm talking about foundations, roles, and who we are. So all of us here have invited participation for a season in the church built and supervised by Christ, and who the Lord released from heaven to be the one who is superintending his church is the Holy Spirit. He is the CEO. So we are called, like the apostles in Matthew chapter 10, verse 12, we are all called by Christ, gifted by Christ, and equipped by Christ to serve in his church. Every pastor should have a call story. I have my call story as to how I was called to the ministry. If you don't have a call story, something is wrong. And the Bible talk about shepherd and hirelings. But I remember in my undergrad days, let me get to this first. Our call story should answer 7 questions. Who I am, whose I am, what I'm expected to do, why I'm doing this, where I am going, and how am I supposed to be doing it, and when I am supposed to stop. So each pastor, everyone should have a call story. If you were to talk to the apostles, or the patriarchs, or the judges, or the kings, or the prophets, or even the apostle Paul, they all have their call story that answer those 7 points. And the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the remnant church, which I think we're almost 180 years now, we have a call story. And Ellen White has a call story, and you should have your call story. And you should be able to stand up and share your call story with conviction. And let me share this joke I remember from undergrad days. I remember when Pastor Basil, was teaching us, I think it was evangelism, for the summer. And we were all in class. And he asked us, why are you called to the ministry? And one student wanted to make fun of Pastor Pastoral, who drove a Volvo at the time, said, I chose to be a pastor because I want to be a middle-class citizen and drive a Volvo. And Pastor was so, well, I won't tell you how it ended. But you'll be surprised. He might have said that. But I'm hoping that not many of us fall in that category. That we have a spiritual call story. The Seventh Adventist movement has its call story. If you remove Daniel 8:14, Malachi 4, verses 5 to 6 about the days of Elijah, Revelation 10, 9 through 11 about this, the little book, and Revelation 14, 6 to 12, from the scripture, we have no biblical defense for who we are. Our biblical defense is resident in Daniel 8:14, and the 2,300 days shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Malachi 4, behold, I will send you Elijah. And we are the Elijah movement. Revelation 10, we have the bitter and sweet experience. And our message in Revelation 14, 6 to 12. And every pastor must understand the call story of the Seventh Adventist movement. This has stopped. I don't know why. Hello? So is my official person up there? If it's stopped, then you're going to have to physically move it for me. It's moving? Good. It's been physically, okay. You're physically moving. All right, so I'll just indicate to you how to move it. The call and gift of Ellen White to the Seventh Adventist Church. The more you understand what's the narratives that go on in our church and the various theology and conflicts within our church, what it is that hold our, sometimes you wonder why our church is not more fragmented doctrinally and in terms of mission and function. What holds us together is the role of Ellen White within our church. And those of us who tend to speak disparagingly of her need to be careful. Because in terms of call, she has a powerful call story. In terms of fruit and fruitage, without any education or first degree or college or undergrad or being sent off to do their doctorate, not many persons or anyone within our church can match the fruitage of Ellen White. And so we need to have if you cannot match a person's fruit and fruitage and gifts, you need to be a little respectful when you speak. Because it will be tantamount to envy or covetousness. If you cannot deliver at that level, or disrespect, or rebellion, or you're just an accuser of the brethren. And the devil don't need any more help. So Ellen White, next please. Ellen White has a powerful call story. The Seventh Adventist Church, of which you're a part of, has a prophetic calling. And again, it's contained in the three angels' message of Revelation 14, 6 to 12. Our Seventh Adventist calling is within those three angels' message. Our mission, our message, our motivation, our identity, and our relevance. So it behoves us to understand this. The three angels' message is in its symbolic form. But that's why we go to school. That's why we have bachelors and masters and PhD. We should be able to exegete what it is saying and unlock the symbols. But when it's unlocked, our calling, our mission, our message, our motivation, our identity, and our relevance next is within the three angels' message. You have to stay with me on if this is not working. Next, please. You have skipped a slide. The Seventh Adventist Church is an eschatological movement. And this is very important, foundationally. We are when we are competing, when you go on, some of us go on on the YouTube to study C.D. Jakes or Joel Osteen or other individuals, you have to know what you're doing. They have their distinctive function and calling, and they understand it. It might not be yours. Next, please. We are an eschatological movement with 7 distinctive doctrines. The Sabbath, stewardship, state of the dead, the 10, the state of health, the second coming of Christ. Thank you. And our most distinctive doctrine is the sanctuary. That's our, Ellen White says all all of us have a personal responsibility to study and understand the doctrine of the sanctuary. Virtually everything we do is built in it and from it. We have an eschatological song. I was looking at it and I went to the Jamaica Union Visitor from 1955 because I could not find our eschatological song that I learned when I came into Seventh Adventist Church. And I learned that it's a Caribbean song that was within Jamaica Union. And some of us might know it. Have you heard of the Advent Church? How she's moving according to prophecy. For the Lord is her leader, and she surely must conquer. Have you heard of the Advent Church? We have an eschatological song, and we probably need to sing it again. Have you heard of the Advent Church of God? Oh, she is moving according to prophecy. For the Lord is her leader, and she surely must conquer. Have you? Okay, you can remain a pastor. So it's in the visit. Now, part 2, eschatology matters. Because eschatology comes with identity. It gives us meaning. It gives us a message, a mission, a purpose, our roles, and our relevance. Eschatology. The loss of eschatology, if you lose the eschatology, the prophetic last day doctrines that we have, then you lose your distinctive message. And you lose your distinctiveness. And you lose your distinctive mission. And you lose your relevance in the community. And you're just another church. And so there's no reason for anyone to become an Adventist. They can choose whoever they want to belong to. Our distinctive is our eschatology. Now, there are many nominal churches who want to be accepted by the larger community, and there's something with many theologians. They always adjust their theology to suit their sociology. And so you have many nominal churches who started out eschatological, but they have given it up to be accepted in the wider community, and today they are struggling to find relevance in the world. Many churches are not relevant. And people are asking that question, what is the relevance? What's the difference between the church and the government social program? So churches are, because they gave up eschatology, are trying to find their relevance in psychology, in sociology, in education. That becomes their primary function in finance. But beside where I live, there's a large church, and they put up this large billboard from time to time, financial university, divorce clinic. And it goes on and on because that's its way of trying to attract relevance, meaning, contribution to the community and members. They try to find meaning in family, community, politics, and nutrition. Now, these have some part to play, but that's not your primary emphasis. So what is the purpose of the Seventh Adventist Church? Now, there's a famous preacher among us that says, if you do not know your purpose, then you serve no purpose. And if you know your purpose and you're not fulfilling your purpose, then you serve no purpose. And if you know your purpose and you have already accomplished your purpose, then you serve no purpose. So we need to know what is the purpose of the Seventh Adventist Church. The Seventh Adventist Church is an eschatological movement with an eschatological role. It is who we are, and that's what I believe. And as I said to a pastor this morning, he was asking about the preaching. I said, in order for you to preach, you must believe what you believe. If you preach and you don't believe what you believe, then you're a performer. But you have to believe what you believe. But you have to know what you believe to believe what you believe. And it takes some discipline, some time, and some effort. But we are an eschatological movement, and we have an eschatological role. And if you do not know what you are or who you are, people will define your life for you. The role of the Seventh Adventist Church is to become custodians, guardians, and heralds of the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation. There is no other church, no other denomination that I'm aware of that is doing this. And virtually all denominations have given up the doctrine of the sanctuary and do not understand the way we do, eschatologically, soteriologically, or prophetically. We are almost the last bastion. But Christ knew that was going to happen. That's why he raised up the Seventh Adventist Church to become custodians, guardians, and heralds of the prophecy of Daniel and Revelation. The role of Seventh Adventist education is to prepare workers for God's eschatological mission, embodied in Revelation 14:6-12. That is the role of Seventh Adventist education, to prepare workers for God's eschatological mission that is embodied in Revelation 14:6-12. It doesn't matter what discipline they go in, doctors, lawyers, engineers, businessmen, scientists. It doesn't matter what they graduate from. The multidiscipline is fine, as long as they have this conviction and passion and conversion that I am a worker in the cause of God, carrying out the eschatological role of a Adventist church. And Adventist education matters because most of the times when you graduates from Northern Caribbean University or any of our schools, when they go back to their local churches, they rise to the level of leadership very quickly within their church. So that's the primary role of Seventh Adventist education. The role of Seventh Adventist conferences at all levels is to care for God's mission, care for God's church, and to care for God's workers as they carry out the eschatological mission embodied in Revelation 14:6-12. The role of our conferences, whatever levels they are, is to care for God's mission, care for God's church, and care for God's workers as they carry out the eschatological mission. The role of Seventh Adventist Church of pastors is to seek the glory of God for his church and to carry out his eschatological mission, embodied in Revelation 14:6-12. Seek the glory of God, not my glory. The temptation is to seek your glory. The temptation is to use God's gifts and God's opportunities to take glory for yourself. And you have to resist that temptation, because that's our default reaction as human beings and as sinners. It's natural for us to do that. So we intentionally strive to seek God's glory, care for his church, carry out his eschatological mission. The role of Seventh Adventist Christians is to be of incarnational value in the communities and nation in which they live, work, and worship as they carry out God's eschatological mission embodied in Revelation 14:6-12. So the members within our communities must be of value to the community, must be of incarnational value. There's a statement from the Spirit of Prophecy that has encouraged me since I came into the work and since I read it in my 20s. Great Controversy, page 611, chapter 38. Whenever I am tempted to get disillusioned, which was happening with the church, the relevance of the church, or the struggle of the church, and the growth of evil in the world, Ellen White says the great work of the gospel is not to close with any less manifestation of the power of God than what marked its opening. Which means that the church of God is not going to be any less than how it began under the pioneers or how it began under the apostles. With or without us, the church of God is going to triumph. There's a tremendous contribution and legacy of the Seventh Church in Jamaica to the world church. This is a tremendous, one of the reasons why I jumped any invitation to be a part of any service within our country and across this union is because I'm aware of the legacy of and contribution of workers from our country. Whoever brought Adventism into Jamaica in the first place did a good job. Because if you were to remove, you can find Jamaican workers and Adventists all across the Caribbean, all across England, all across Canada, all of New York now, virtually, or a large section, Canada, and Florida. That's a tremendous contribution. We're not only workers, but members. You empty those countries of Jamaicans, and you will see what happened to the churches in those areas. Tremendous contribution. But we need to help each other to finish well. And I want to make that appeal. Many of the icons that I grew up with in Jamaica and fell in love and admired and have inspired me, many, if not most, if not all of them, are not finishing well. We must help each other to finish well, or none of us will finish well. We start well. We do well, but we need to finish well. And in order to finish well, we have to help each other. We all eventually become victims of a culture we create. And sometimes we forget when we are young and strong, but we will not be young and strong forever. My mother was a strong, robust woman. And when I saw how she ended, the emaciated, tiny form that lost her mind, I think about my own self and wonder how I am, because the genes are in me. So how will I end? And so I double down in trying to take care of my own health. But we all eventually become victims of the culture we create. So we need to help each other to finish well. If I am drifting, help me. And if you can't help me, don't hurt me. But help me to finish well. I remember when I was at the 2007 General Conference meeting, I was a part of another conference then, and we had a meeting, and I got up on the floor in that meeting because they were all discussing who is going to sit on committees where and what's going to happen and who is going to move forward. And I was wondering why the conversation did not center around Jamaicans and Jamaica, because I know our contribution. And I got up and I made a passionate speech which I thought was soundproof and bulletproof in defense of my country and representation. And these lovely brethren listened to me from all over the world. And then one gentleman got up, I won't call his name, and he said, "Denton, everything you have said is true. The problem with you, Jamaican, is that you're forever trapped in a learning curve." That has haunted me to this day. But it's not too late to change it. We can change it and finish well. There is a time of trouble before us as a church. Go again and read chapter 39 of the Great Controversy, the time of trouble, where it is spelled out for us what is coming for us and the troubles that we're going to face as leaders and members of the Seventh Church. But the church will finish well. I read it to you in Revelation chapter 7, 5 to 17 this morning. It says, "After this I look, and behold, there was a great multitude." The church of God will finish well. We will finish well. But make sure that you and I, when it finishes, we're a part of it. God said that there'll be a battle between the gates of hell and the church, between the very gates of hell and the church itself, but the gates of hell will not prevail, but there will be a battle. And in battle there are casualties. But make sure that you are not a casualty. But on the sea of glass, when the Lord comes and the church, and we are home at last, and the elders ask, "Who are these in white robes?" we can answer, because we all finish well. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. I challenge us as pastors to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. Fix on him in the sanctuary, in our distinctive doctrines, in our stewardship, in our work, in everything that we do, looking unto Jesus, so that we can all finish well. Roles and foundations matter, and we need to know who we are. Thank you.